Coming up, more technology companies run into privacy concerns in Europe. And I mean they literally run. Never mind, you'll see. Nordstrom and Starbucks get a taste of the pointy end of election fever. The company chief executive who's been receiving hate for employing refugees. And the backlash against another company that wants to offer choice to people who'd rather not eat GMOs. Welcome to the Respectful Business Friday Roundup, a quick dive into what's interesting to people of value from the world of socially responsible business. First up, the digital age continues to provide a battleground for those who are providing the coolest and most desirable digital features and regulators who are concerned about privacy. In the first of two stories on that theme, Fitbit, Jawbone, Garmin and Mio are being pulled up on how they handle users' data. According to the Norwegian Consumer Council, the companies collect more data than they actually need in order to provide the service, and they don't give clear information over what the data will be used for and how long it will be kept. The fear is that some of the users' personal information concerning their health, their activities and their location may be used for direct marketing and other nefarious purposes. Fitbit said that it shared the concerns about privacy and that it was committed to working with regulators to make sure that strong policies were in place. It also said that it did try to communicate clearly with consumers and that it had self-certified under the new Privacy Shield framework regulations. In a spookily related story, Facebook has blocked the plans by the insurance company Admiral to view your Facebook posting record to gain information that could be useful in setting your premiums. And it's not just that they were going to look for posts like, "Nearly crashed the car yesterday, LOL." They also intended to take into account the length of posts, the type of language you use, the number of exclamation points, and whether you use words like the word never. Now, I have no idea how I would do on such a measure, nor what my language would say about me and how that would affect my insurance premiums. But I don't like the thought that if I was to, for instance, get frustrated with the US presidential election and suddenly let fly with an invective full of exclamation points, that was then going to reflect negatively on my insurance premiums. And I'm particularly keen about that because next Tuesday, there's a stronger than possible chance that might actually happen, along with a whole bunch of other language that probably would be considered to be non-insurance friendly. In this case, it doesn't matter because Facebook stepped in, said that it clearly broke policies to do with using Facebook information to determine eligibility for insurance. And I'm glad about that because, frankly, using that kind of information to make those sorts of decisions is so far over the line that I have to confess my eye flickered quickly to the date line of the story to make sure that I hadn't actually completely lost the plot and it was actually April the 1st. Speaking of the election, the final week of the campaign has seen more and more companies being dragged into the mudslinging that has become the nature of the 2016 presidential race. On the one hand, you have Nordstrom being hammered by Hillary supporters for continuing to sell Ivanka Trump's fashion brand. On the other hand, you have Starbucks upsetting a whole bunch of people by releasing a special coffee cup that features a line drawing of 100 people drawn in one single unbroken line. The aim of that was to signify the unity across America, people coming together, Americans having more in common than they have dividing them. Ironically and hilariously, some of those 100 people have taken umbrage at this statement and have decided to slag off the company. Now, some of them, to be fair, were under the mistaken belief that this was actually Starbucks' Christmas coffee cup. And obviously that would have been an egregious folly, well worthy of a vast outpouring of anger. But others were just irritated at the coffee company making a statement of that sort. There's nothing quite so delicious as an initiative designed to bring people together in the spirit of fellowship and unity, only to have some of those people use it as a weapon to beat you with. But then if you are going to draw 100 people with a single line, it's fairly sure that some of those 100 people are going to be obnoxious idiots. To be fair, Starbucks hasn't made it easier on itself to promote the unity message on the grounds that its chairman and CEO Howard Schultz has endorsed Hillary Clinton as a candidate. You can either stand up for your preferred candidates or you can stand up for national unity. It's very hard to do both, or at least it certainly is in this particular election. On the plus side, this will all be over next week. On the negative side, well, you can fill in your own gap on that one. There's no doubt that whatever the outcome, we have entered a turbulent time where expressions of hatred have become a legitimised statement of political view. The founder of the company Chobani, Hamdi Ulukaya, has found this out the hard way. His company, which makes Greek yogurt, has made a point out of employing refugees, people who are fleeing from wars in their own country. And these people, he says, make excellent workers because they know that they've been given a second chance and they do their best to strive to earn it. In the fever pitch of current times, Ulukaya has been receiving death threats and all sorts of statements of hatred over social media and so on. In the meantime, he carries on paying his workers far above minimum wage, giving his employees a stake in his own company, things that really good chief executives are meant to do rather than employing cheap labour and exporting jobs to foreign countries. But hey, let's not be consistent here. Speaking of yoghurt, the rather larger player in that market, Danone, has attracted the ire of farm organisations because of recent commitments it's made towards sustainable agriculture and non-GMO. 6 industry groups have launched a counterattack, attacking what they say are misleading sustainability claims relating to the GMO part of that commitment. It's said that Danone's strategy to get rid of GMOs was the exact opposite of what would actually be the sustainable strategy that they said they were looking for. Danone hit back at the claims, saying that they were divisive and misinformed. Where have we heard that in the last few months? It said that it has a direct relationship with some of its independent producers, and it aims to incorporate the non-GMO pledge to around about half of its range to meet a rising interest on the part of consumers. It'll also carry labelling to disclose the presence of GMOs where they exist. It says that it agrees that it believes that the currently permitted GMOs are perfectly safe, but it is only adapting to meet what consumers actually want. And that, of course, is part of what the industry is concerned about. But if more and more companies like Danone market to consumers who are concerned about GMOs, then that will simply reinforce the message to those who at the moment, it's not a particularly high profile issue, that well, maybe there's an issue here, maybe there's something that they should join in with. But likewise, it's hard to argue that private companies shouldn't be allowed to market towards an existing market segment with existing preferences just because that might turn out to be inconvenient for you as a producer. The challenge is always that you have to produce what the consumer wants. And if consumer preferences are changing, then you have to reevaluate what that's going to mean for your business. But it's a contentious area. I would be fascinated to know what you think. Leave your comments in the comments section below. And now for the positive vibe of the week, the thing that's made me smile with a rosy glow of optimism. And first of all, it's hard not to mark the fact that the Paris Climate Agreement has finally this week come into force. Even amidst the uncertainty of what happens on Tuesday, it's an important milestone, not least because the timing of this getting through in the timescale that it has could turn out to be quite important if we do actually get an avowed climate skeptic in the White House. Secondly, the campaigner on human rights in the fishing industry, Andy Hall, who I mentioned here a few weeks ago, has had a case of criminal defamation brought against him by the company whose practices he'd campaigned against thrown out. Thailand's top court has struck down the case brought by the natural fruit company. Hall now says that he intends to pursue a countersuit against the company, partially because it is still legally harassing him, but also to try to address the dampening effect that this case has had on other people who have seen things that are going on and have been reluctant to step forward because of the highly litigious nature of the natural fruit company to date. When it's the most natural thing in the world for people to cave in the face of vastly superior resources and legal muscle, you have to stand up and admire people like Andy Hall who are going to step forward and take the case to court at the risk of personal time in prison and financial ruin. Some companies agree, as Hall has been supported by the Thai Union Group and the Thai Tuna Industry Association. Finally, in case you missed it, I was speaking at the CSR Lebanon conference in Beirut earlier this week. I was vlogging the entire experience, and you can see the 2 video logs that were produced on the channel, and the links will follow at the end of this video. It's always interesting to get a sense of how CSR is emerging in some of the more difficult and uncertain business environments, and I hope that I managed to capture at least a sliver of that in the videos, and I'd be interested again to know what you think of them. But that's where we're going to leave it this week. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up. If you're new to this channel, hit the subscribe button. My name's Mallen Baker. This channel is for people who want to live a life of value and make a difference to the world, and if that's you, well, let's do this again next week.